Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Imagine sitting in a packed auditorium, lights overhead, murmurs of anticipation all around you. A man walks on stage, charismatic, confident, ready to speak. And then a crack, one single crack, echoing like thunder in the silence. The man falls, screams, chaos. The shooter, already gone. This wasn't random. This wasn't chance. This was planned. And the man lying on the ground? Charlie Kirk. It was September 10th, 2025. Utah Valley University. Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, had been invited to speak in the Grande Ballroom. Hundreds of students, professors, and guests filled the hall. Security was present, but not overwhelming. After all, this was supposed to be a dialogue, not a war zone. But across campus, on the rooftop of a nearby building, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson was lying on his stomach, a rifle wrapped in a towel beside him. He had been there for hours, patient, still watching. At 7:43 p.m., as Kirk's speech hit its stride, Robinson unwrapped the rifle. He steadied his hand. He aimed. The shot rang out. Inside the ballroom, pandemonium broke out. Students screamed, ducked, and scrambled for cover. Some dropped their phones. Others rushed to the exits. Security darted toward the stage, but Kirk had already collapsed. Blood pooled. The event was over before anyone could even process what had happened. And the shooter? He calmly left his perch. He walked down the street. To anyone passing by, he looked like just another student heading home. Charlie Kirk was no stranger to controversy. Born in 1993, he rose to prominence in his early 20s by creating Turning Point USA, a student-based conservative organization. He became a fixture on college campuses, pushing back against liberal voices and often sparking heated debates. To his supporters, he was brave, someone willing to say what others wouldn't. To his critics, he was dangerous, spreading rhetoric they believed fueled division. But behind the headlines, Charlie was also a family man. In 2021, he married Erica Francois, a former beauty queen and podcast host. Friends described him as deeply ambitious, endlessly driven, and above all, unafraid of confrontation. He thrived on the stage. Every event, every microphone was another battlefield. And that night in Utah, he believed it would be just another speech, another debate. He never saw the rooftop. He never saw Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson wasn't famous. He wasn't even infamous. Not yet. Born in Utah, raised in a quiet family, he had no criminal record, no history of violence. On paper, he was an ordinary young man. He lived with his roommate, who was also his romantic partner. They were quiet, kept to themselves, and never drew much attention. But in the months before September 2025, something shifted. Tyler became more political. His friends noticed changes in his conversations. He talked about frustration, about anger, about feeling disillusioned. Prosecutors would later describe him as someone who stewed in his thoughts, slowly hardening into an idea that would change everything. He wasn't impulsive. He was deliberate. He began planning. The most chilling detail came from what Tyler left behind. On the night of the shooting, he messaged his roommate, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked. There, tucked away, was a handwritten note. It read, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. When confronted, the roommate texted back, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Tyler's response, "I am. I'm sorry." The roommate pressed further. "Why?" Tyler wrote, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out." Prosecutors later said this was more than a confession. It was a manifesto, a chilling statement of intent. And it didn't stop there. Hours later, on Discord, Tyler allegedly typed, "It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this." After the shot, Tyler didn't run in panic. He walked. He wrapped the rifle in a towel. He tucked it into a bush. He changed his clothes. He worried about fingerprints, about the fact the gun belonged to his grandfather. He messaged his roommate again, "Delete everything. Don't talk to anyone." But within hours, the FBI released grainy surveillance photos. And it wasn't strangers who identified him. It was his own family. They recognized him instantly. On September 12th, police moved in. Tyler Robinson was arrested without incident. He didn't resist. He didn't argue. He just went quietly. The evidence stacked up quickly. The rifle, confirmed to be his grandfather's. DNA on the trigger, on the towel, even on a screwdriver he had used to access the rooftop. Text messages, confessions to his roommate, Discord logs, public admissions just hours before his arrest. This wasn't circumstantial. This was overwhelming.
After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his roommate to delete incriminating text messages and not talk to police. For the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views.
But the question remained, why? When pressed, Tyler gave a vague but powerful answer. "I had enough of his hatred." Some saw this as politically motivated assassination. Others saw it as personal anger. His family told reporters he had no prior violent tendencies. He wasn't in a gang. He wasn't radicalized online in the typical way. But prosecutors argued that over weeks, maybe months, he had built himself into believing this was the only way. He planned the attack for at least a week. He chose the location. He chose the weapon. He left a note. He confessed in writing. This wasn't spur of the moment. It was calculated. When Tyler Robinson appeared in court for the first time, it was virtual. He sat in the Utah County Jail expressionless as prosecutors listed his charges: aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, witness tampering, obstruction of justice. And then the announcement that shocked many: prosecutors would seek the death penalty. Charlie's widow, Erica Kirk, filed for and was granted protective order, barring Robinson from contacting her in any way. The nation reacted swiftly. For Kirk supporters, this was a devastating blow. Proof that political speech was no longer safe. For his critics, it was a moment of reckoning, a question of whether divisive rhetoric had pushed someone to violence. Universities reviewed their security. Politicians on both sides condemned the act. But in the middle of it all was Tyler Robinson, silent, waiting for his next court date on September 29th, 2025. At the end of the day, this isn't just a story about shooting. It's about how an ordinary young man, no criminal record, no violent past, became an assassin. It's about how words, when twisted into rage, can turn into bullets. And it's about a single note under a keyboard, a quiet rooftop, and a life that ended before anyone could stop it. Charlie Kirk's voice was silenced that night. Tyler Robinson's life was shackled that same week. And everyone else? They're left with the question, how did it come to this?